Welcome to our conversation with the Recruitment Blueprint. I'm Jake, founder and CEO.
And I'm Josh, Recruitment Director and Head of Salary Division.
So today we're going to have a conversation from frequently asked questions by our clients and our candidates. So if you're someone that's potentially looking at joining the real estate industry, or someone that's a seasoned real estate salaried staff member, or someone that's an experienced agent, then this is a conversation that you want to hear. So I'm going to kick things off, right? So Josh, welcome to the podcast. I believe this is your first sort of conversation podcast.
It is indeed, yeah.
Awesome. So let's get underway. So why don't you tell us sort of a little bit about your journey, how you ended up from the UK to Dubai, and how you're now sort of heading up our salaried staff positions?
Yeah, of course. So we'll strip it right back. So when I was 18, COVID started and I started my own business back in the UK. So that was personal shopping, sourcing, high-end fashion, sportswear. I saw a gap in the market as the high street was closing. So online was booming at that time. And I made good money. I was quite comfortable, let's say, for a young age, but it wasn't fulfilling enough. So I thought, you know what, let me try Dubai. I had a couple of friends out here doing quite well in real estate, as you know, a lot of people are now. So I took the leap. I probably made the jump in 3 to 4 weeks. I had the savings there. I was going through selling my business anyway, sold the business and came to Dubai. And I started off in real estate, as a lot of us do. Commission only, worked for a large corporate business. Unfortunately, it wasn't what I thought it was from the first online call I had. I'd never been to Dubai. I didn't really understand much about the job, about the place. I landed in a place called JVC, which is quite a well-known place for Brits. And it wasn't just as such as what I was thinking Dubai would be like. Very tough job, learned a lot from it. However, what happened was I was in a leasing department. So in Dubai real estate, as you know, you've generally got sales, leasing and off plan for the big sort of British and corporate businesses. It's quite structured in that sense. And what happened was it wasn't really working out. I wasn't making the money I thought I would be at a certain stage. Okay. And then what happened from there, I got a recruitment opportunity still in real estate. So that was for, again, a large corporate business. And recruitment was something that had been in the back of my mind. When I sold my business in the UK, I was actually going to try recruitment in the UK as well anyway. So it's kind of sort of meant to be. So stayed in real estate. I did enjoy the market. Of course, it's the most lucrative market here in Dubai and most of the world. So I thought, let me stay in real estate and let me try recruitment and combine the two together. Sort of, 3 years down the line now, I've worked for large corporate businesses internally for real estate recruitment, boutique companies, doubled, tripled them in size internally. And I've also worked in external recruitment, which sort of the past 6 months has been my focus point now. And here we are today. That's sort of how I've got this position now, because I've been exposed to different types of the market, all within real estate recruitment.
So now to somebody new potentially looking at joining the industry, right? They're going to hear you say that and be like, you know, they probably were in your position, you know, thinking, yes, I want to move to real estate, want to earn life-changing money. But then they just heard you say that it wasn't quite what you thought it was going to be, right?
Yeah.
So what would you say to somebody like that, that's sort of in that position and sort of not sure about whether to make the move because they might not make it or not?
Good question. So what I would say to someone that is considering to make the move is 100% give it a shot. I say this to everyone and I always tell my story in a very transparent and honest way. For me personally, I probably didn't persist enough as I should have. I was mentally drained, physically drained. I had personal and family commitments at the time as well, which financially I had to take care of. And I couldn't sustain being on a commission-only role after sort of 5-6 months in the job. From what I know now and what I can see, if you do get past that sort of 6 to 10 month mark and you're a half decent agent, you know, you can add value and you can actually, you will succeed at some point. You will make money. And my story will be different to other people's. Some might be similar, but everyone has their own journey. Everyone has their own story. The proof of concept is clearly there. People have come after me and made a lot of money still in the market. So it's not to say that it doesn't work. We all know that 80 to 90% of real estate brokers can't actually make it work long term, and fail, if you will. But there is that 10 to 20% that do make it work. They are on or above target, and they can make life-changing amounts of money. For me, it was probably a little bit too soon. I was a bit naive. I wasn't living below my means, as I believe you should do when you come to Dubai, because I had quite a nice lifestyle in the UK. I was trying to sort of live up to that as soon as I came to Dubai, which meant a lot of money went very, very quick. So I think it's just understanding the role, speaking to the right recruiter or whoever you speak to when making the move. Speak to multiple different companies, do your own due diligence, and sort of go from there. And I think, like I say, for everyone that's thinking about it, 100% give it a shot, because what's the very worst thing that can happen is you potentially might have to go home, and at least you've tried, you know?
Because I think the hardest thing about sort of being a real estate agent in Dubai is being patient, being consistent, and staying positive. I'd probably say those sort of three things. Almost exactly what you outlined there. You know, you just didn't give it enough time. You probably weren't as consistent as you should have been, you know, in the job every single day, showing up, you know, putting in the same shift, you know, and then sort of staying positive. Because, you know, in this industry, when you're getting lots of rejection, you're not seeing results for weeks on end, sometimes months on end, that's when you lose your head. And, you know, I always say that real estate, it's not rocket science, right? It's not complicated. There's agents in this market where you'd probably think they have half a brain cell, right? And they're making an absolute fortune. And it's purely because, you know, they're just consistent. They show up every single day. They're patient. They trust the process. They know that it will eventually happen. And they just stay positive every day. Come in, show up, stay positive. They don't let the losses get them down. They don't let the wins get them too high. They stay on a nice smooth level, and they just move through the market like that. So, you know, for any sort of like agent, you know, potentially thinking about coming over, it's really not the most complicated job in the world. But if you can sort of manage those three things, then I'd probably say, you know, that puts you above sort of 80% of the people joining the industry.
100%, I completely agree. It's just a mindset thing at the end of the day. You have to be disciplined. And discipline always beats motivation. You know, motivation only lasts so long. You've got to show up every day, just like you said. And if you are doing the right things, there's enough piece of the pie to go around to actually make enough money.
Now, you are heading up our sort of salaried sort of staff division, right? Now, what are realistic salary bands for your sort of more senior roles in Dubai real estate?
So realistic salary bands for more senior roles in Dubai real estate, sort of sales managers and sales directors, you're looking at, the thing is in the market now, titles do get flown around quite a bit and they don't always reflect that. But generally speaking, a sales manager, you're looking at anywhere from 15 to 25K. Plus a 4 to 5% override on the team's commission. Sales directors, you're looking at anywhere between 20 up to 30K, plus again a 4 to 5% override. Now, from my experience and knowledge in the market, the more boutique companies that still have the financial backing generally pay more because their team is smaller, which means the override is less, therefore the OTE is less for that business until you build it up. So the salary, the basic salary is generally higher. The larger, more corporate businesses or the businesses that have been in the game for quite a while and have got bigger teams, then the salary, the basic salary is generally lower. And the override, you make money on that through the OT because the team is bigger. So if you come into a team of, 20 to 30 billion agents, the basic salary as a sales manager, sales director will probably be a little bit lower than the market because they'll actually make up for that in the OT from the agents closing deals, and vice versa for sort of boutique companies as well. In terms of other roles in the market, you've got marketing, which again can sort of range anywhere from sort of 15 up to 35K. I used to work at a previous company. The head of marketing there is on around 35K. You've got HR and recruitment. Again, it can vary depending on the company. If you're in a company where, 20 to 30 agents are joining that business every month, then your basic salary will be lower because you're going to make more money in commission because a lot of people are already attracted to that business. Boutique firms, again, vice versa, the basic salary should be higher because it's harder to recruit, and then the commission might be a little bit less because less people are joining the business on a monthly basis. But again, that can range anywhere from 10 to 30K in the market. You know, we've got over 5,000 agencies. A lot of them do use internal recruitment services now. So it can vary a lot based on the company and the finances of that company as well. So, Jake, what is the hardest thing about being a real estate agent in Dubai?
So I think we sort of just touched on that just now. You know, it was just it's being consistent, it's being positive. You know, it's showing up every single day. You know, even when you don't feel like it. You know, as I said, you know, it's really sort of not rocket science. But if you can sort of master those few things, then I think you well on your way. What would you say is the biggest red flag you see in brokerages hiring salaried leaders?
Okay, cool. So one of the biggest red flags that I see in brokerages hiring salaried leaders is hiring too quick and not actually understanding what they need from the business. So they might be quite desperate, they might not have the budget, and because of that, they'll just take sort of, you know, the first one or two individuals that come into the interview process just because they need to speed things up. But long term, of course, that's going to then could potentially go the other way because they've not actually brought the right person into the business, which then ends up in 6 to 12 months down the line, potentially being in the same position as they were when they started or even worse. So I think hiring too quickly in the market. Okay, Jake. What would you say the biggest mistake new agents make when they first get to Dubai?
The biggest mistake that agents make when they get to Dubai probably starts before they actually get to Dubai. You know, a lot of agents, they arrive without a clear plan or sort of strategy for how they're going to hit the ground running. You know, they arrive in Dubai thinking, cool, they're just going to sort of figure it out as they kind of go along. A lot of the time with real estate companies, they promise them, you know, we're going to do various training for you in the beginning, etc. But what agents need to understand is that you're coming to a completely new city, which you're probably not that familiar with. You're coming to one of the most competitive sales markets in the world, you know. Now, for you to just arrive and think, cool, you're going to figure it out on the go whilst you're on a commission-only salary where you've probably only got 4 or so sort of months to get you by is an extremely bad sort of mistaken thing to do. You know, what I would advise new agents coming out to do is to make sure that you've thought about things before. You've almost created a bit of a business plan, right, before you arrive. What you've got to look at being a new agent coming to the market in real estate, it's like running your own business. And I know it's a bit of a buzzword, but it really, really is. You know, you are sales, your customer service, your operations, your marketing. You are essentially everything. You're almost like your own little micro business, okay? Now, if you look at the success rate of startups in the world, you're probably looking at like 99% of them fail. Okay. So you've got to come into the industry with that mindset, thinking, flip, you know, the chances of my of failing is higher than me succeeding. So what can I now do before I arrive to give myself the best chance of success? Okay. And that's where at the Recruitment Blueprint, what we really do sort of help all our new agents entering the market with, right? You know, we provide, 5 weeks of online training before they arrive, to really ensure that they arrive with all the knowledge, they have a plan and structure in place so that they can hit the ground running, so that they're essentially 5 weeks ahead of everyone else. Okay. We manage the entire relocation through our in-house relocation academy, right? Where we book their accommodation, their transport, we set up their mobile phone contracts, we advise on what's sort of the best banks to use, where's the best place to do your shopping, all of these kind of things to aid somebody so that when they arrive, they're not having to think, they're not getting ripped off, they're able to just arrive, they're 5 weeks ahead, they've got everything organized, all they need to do is just focus on the job. So that's what I'd probably say is any sort of agent looking at coming and joining the industry, put a plan in place before you arrive so that you don't just drive blind and try and figure it out on the go.
And what do you think the key benefit is for Recruitment Blueprint offering that service to agents coming into Dubai? What do you think the key benefits are for that agent that actually has come with support of accommodation and sales training as well?
Now, the key benefit for an agent moving to Dubai Real Estate and working with the Recruitment Blueprint is the fact that they will hit the ground running a lot faster than if they weren't, right? The very mere fact that you come and you're going to have 5 weeks of training, in the bag, means that chances are you're going to be able to list properties faster, you're going to be able to close properties faster. So you're going to be able to generate, your commissions a lot faster than if you didn't. Okay.
Just speed up the process essentially.
Exactly. We will speed up that process. It means that, your chances of success is going to be a lot higher. Now, I'm not here to say that it's going to be guaranteed, because it's not. At the end of the day, it's still going to come down to the type of person that you are, the mindset that you have, and your willingness to work. But, if you do follow our blueprint, and you do as we advise, then you will 100% have a much better chance of success than if you weren't and you were just going to arrive as anybody else.
Yeah, 100% agree. And I don't think there's anyone out there in the market that's actually doing that for new agents.
Yes, there is no one else in the market, no real estate companies, no recruiters in the market. And I think that's purely down to sort of, just the values of what we're trying to build here at TRB. We're not just trying to place people in positions, because at the end of the day, I feel like we have the responsibility, the moral responsibility and obligation in order to, really help those have the best chance of success, and not just think, okay, cool, we've got our commission from placing this agent. Okay, cool. We're next. That's really not what we want to look through. And that's why we have our 4 sort of part framework, which is obviously helping connect you with top real estate companies in the market, train you, relocate you, as well as then provide 90 days of post-placement support after you arrive to ensure that you settle in, you get past those first 3 months in the market, giving yourself, a great chance of going on and achieving, these incredible numbers that some of these agents in the market are earning.
Yeah, nice.
Now, who would you say in the market is a success story, of someone that's come across from the UK, let's say, for instance, that's now completely changed their lives?
Yeah, 2 people spring to mind, and that's because I sort of knew them personally before actually coming out, but they are very, very successful now in the market and only been here. So first and foremost, you've got Jordan Smith. He's from same area as me back home, sort of Preston area, northwest England. He is one of the top agents in Dubai now. I think we was literally just looking yesterday. I think in Q3 he bought about 611 million on the board, which is crazy number. That is seriously life changing for anyone that would come into this industry. He does Palm Jumeirah, has always done that area. I'm pretty sure he closed a sale within his first 2 weeks. He was actually the reason that I came out to Dubai in the first place, from his sort of fast success, because not many people, as we both know, close a sale deal in the first month. He closed the sale in the first 2 weeks. So I thought, if he can do it, I can do it, but we now know there's a lot more to it than that. Secondly, so Jordan's predominantly a secondary agent. Ryan Booth, he's very big in the market now for off-plan. So he has essentially generated all his business through social media. He was very consistent with LinkedIn, with Instagram, and even TikTok, posting every single day. And I remember right at the start when he was posting, he wasn't getting much traction. The videos didn't look great. He wasn't giving too much value, but it was sort of short form. And he's just been so consistent. He's now got a team, social media team. And of course, when you get leads through social media, you've already built a name for yourself, and you've built trust with someone that you've never even spoken to, because they can see the value that you offer. And I really think in this market now, that is the way forward, because you get serious leads, off-plan companies, they run campaigns, you get reshuffled leads. There's a lot of issues that comes within that. But if you build your own personal brand in Dubai real estate, people get in touch with yourself directly. They're your leads. And then that's when referrals come. And Ryan's been, very successful as well in the off-plan market now. So I think They're probably the two that spring to mind, and I know them personally as well. So they've done extremely well.
And I think you just touched on a valid point there, you know, the power of personal branding, you know, and this is one thing I mentioned about for new agents before they even arrive in Dubai. You know, you can put in a personal branding strategy and sort of map everything out so that when you arrive, you know exactly how you plan to build your personal brand. You know, and that is one of the modules that we do teach as part of our the sales blueprint. But you see the top performers in the market. You know, what's it? Aidan Doyle also from Strata, doing incredible work. 22 years old and man driving a G-Wagon, doing incredible things, and that's all through personal branding. So you know, any sort of advice which I probably would give to any new agents sort of coming out to Dubai is really sort of think about how are you going to build your personal brand, because how are you going to differentiate yourself in the market? How are you going to get yourself seen? Because if you can build a strong personal brand, then, you know, you are pretty much guaranteeing yourself success, you know, after sort of a 6 to 12 month sort of stint in the market.
Yeah, completely agree. And that goes for anything in life. If you can build a good personal brand, then you will get opportunities from it, no matter what industry you're in. As we know, it is the way forward now.
Great.
Cool. So this is a question that get asked a lot. I know I used to get asked it quite a lot as well. How long would you say it takes a real estate agent coming in to Dubai to close their first deal?
So how long does it take for a real estate agent to close their first deal when they move into the market? Now, that depends on whether you go into sales or rentals. Okay. Now, if you go into sales, it's a lot faster of a process than it is if you're going into rentals. It's a lot faster of a process than going into sales. You know, it's generally it's a lot easier to rent somebody's property than it is to sell it, purely because in sales, you know, you've got to build more of a personal relationship. Generally, when you're speaking with your clients and you're looking to sell, there's a bit more of a sort of emotional sort of relationship and connection that they have probably with that property. So it's going to take a little bit longer to build that trust. Whereas if you're looking at sort of renting somebody's property, generally they're probably an investor and they're looking at it more sort of like a business than sort of an emotional sort of like personal connection to that property, right? So it just makes it a lot easier to sell. Right. But now to get back to your answer, it probably takes, depending on how hard you work, right? From a rental, you're looking at about 1 to 3 months to close your first rental deal.
Yeah.
And then in sales, you're looking at around 3 to 6 months before you sell your first property. Now, obviously, that can range, that can change, but I'd probably give yourself sort of that sort of bracket depending on, you know, which parts of the sort of industry you decide to move into.
And when you say which part of the industry people decide to move into, would you recommend certain people to start off in rentals or start off in sales? Because I know the sort of traditional way and what most companies do is get agents to start off in rentals and then you transition into sales from that. What do you think on that?
So I would always recommend any new agents coming to the market to go into rentals. Funny enough, I didn't. I moved straight into sales.
Yeah.
But I see some of the most successful agents in the market now all started in rentals because they learned the game faster transactions, learned quicker. They got money in the bank. It was a little bit less stressful. You know, they built, you know, really, really good connections from their landlords who are now looking to sell. So they built a really strong pipeline. So I'd probably 100% say move into rentals. However, you know, nobody joins this industry to stay and work in rentals. The life-changing money does come within sales.
Yeah, of course.
But you need to look at this industry as a long-term game. It's not a get-rich-quick scheme, which a lot of people, I think, you know, you're watching Selling Sunsets and all of these Netflix, you know, real estate shows, and you hear of these stories, kind of like Jordan, you know, who made, you know, life-changing money almost overnight. For 99% of people, that doesn't happen, you know, and you need to understand that. You know, there's a saying in real estate, the first year you learn, second year you earn, okay? So if you come in with that mindset, think, okay, in that first year, which parts, sales or rentals, am I going to be able to learn the most? And purely by transaction volume, you will learn more in rentals. So start in rentals, do that for 6 months to a year. Once you've got that under your belt, then you can move into sales, and then that's when you can start really sort of earning the money that you came out to earn in this industry.
I think that's a key thing with TRB as well, and how we are in terms of, or how you are from your sector of the business. When people are coming into the market, very transparent and upfront about making money, how long it will take, and it's not a get rich quick scheme. There is a lot of recruiters in the market that I know will sell dreams, and they will get anyone in and say whatever they can to make a bit of commission. And, that results in high turnover of a business, and that results in essentially a bad reputation on them. But I think as a recruiter, and especially those coming into Dubai, you're playing with people's lives, you're playing with people's finances. At the end of the day, you have to be transparent. And then those that understand that, again, when they come to Dubai, they realize they know what they're getting themselves in for. I was a victim of that as well. I got sold a bit of a dream. I thought I'd make, £10,000 a month in the first sort of 4 to 6 months. And especially in rentals, it just doesn't go that way. And I think that's what we sort of pride ourselves on now, is being as transparent as possible.
Yeah, I mean, listen, just this morning, we're talking about a candidate that's sent me over sort of a video, really keen to join the industry, and looking at it, and it's looking at him and thinking, listen, man, like, I'd love to put you forward, but I generally don't think that you have what it takes. And I know that there are real estate companies which I could potentially, get him to join, but at the end of the day, he's going to join, probably not make it, and then look at me and be like, well, why weren't you upfront? Why weren't you honest?
Yeah.
So I really do feel like that's where we really differentiate ourselves in this market, is the fact of being completely transparent, being completely honest, and only putting you into the industry if we do feel that you have what it takes to succeed in this market. What is the number one mistake senior candidates make when negotiating offers?
I think it's going in with a number too soon. Leave the negotiating to myself at the end of the day. I think especially if you're applying for jobs, and this is a post I put on LinkedIn yesterday, when you apply for jobs directly, the employer, the client has all the leverage, which means they know you kind of need a job, you're active in the market. They could potentially get away with offering you or lowballing you with a smaller salary or package, because they know that chances are you applied for this job. The ball's in the client's court. So I think from a candidate's perspective is always see what the clients come back with first, and then negotiate from there. I wouldn't say, I was previously on this package and this is what I'm looking for. I would open it up and see what the client says, and then sort of negotiate from there. If it's in person, if not, generally I deal with that side of things, and it's always in my best interest to get the candidate the best package possible. Okay, so what's the truth about tax-free income that most people don't realize?
The truth about tax-free income in Dubai that most people don't realize is how much more disposable income it gives you every single month. And when I say disposable income, it's income after all of your sort of primary expenses, right? Income to do what you want with, have fun with, save, invest, travel. Now, when you're earning essentially 40% more, because you're not paying 40% of that on tax, it's crazy what the lifestyle upgrade that you can live, right?
It's a significant difference.
Exactly. And now a lot of people think, oh, but Dubai is expensive, so you end up paying the same amount anyway. But that's not true, because Dubai is a city where it's as expensive as you want it to be.
Yeah.
There's so much free stuff to do. There's stuff to do on a budget. You don't have to be popping bottles and going to all the top clubs and the top restaurants. It's there for you if you want to do it.
Yeah.
But if you are smart with your money, you can live a lifestyle that you would in London, in any sort of major city, right? And then on top of that, still have 40% more income at the end of the month because you're not paying tax.
Yeah. I think a big thing, and I've personally done this previously as well, because people don't actually budget in that sense. They don't save or put aside 40% of their earnings or 30%, 20% of their earnings. Generally, people just spend everything they get, and they act like they don't get taxed. So I'm just going to spend it all. But I think what a lot of people say in the market is, especially if you're trying to save for anything, or you want to start investing, whatever it may be, you should act as if you're still getting taxed and put that money aside, because a lot of people don't.
That's actually a really good thing to actually sort of consider, is actually think, okay, cool. What were you getting taxed back home? And now every time you earn that here in Dubai, put that away, put that into savings, save that for a rainy day.
Yeah.
And then that's when you can really, really see the benefit of moving to Dubai. Because I think a lot of people, they think they're going to come to Dubai, make all this money, save, and then go back home 5 years later, except they go back home 5 years later and think, okay, awesome, I had a great time, but now I've got nothing to show for it.
Yeah.
But if you're smart with what you do with your money and you really sort of reap the benefits of not paying tax, you saving for 5-10 years, 30% more, putting that into in stock, shares, whatever, that's a significant amount of money, which can actually then change your life. And you don't need to be earning crazy money in order to watch that grow.
Yeah, completely agree. I would recommend a lot of people to try and do that.
Would you say that real estate companies sort of throw money at problems they should be fixing internally?
Yeah, so I think some real estate companies, be it sort of developer or agency, sometimes will throw money at problems rather than fixing issues internally, or per se that they think throwing money at a problem will fix that issue internally, but not always it doesn't. I think, operationally through sort of HR, sales, that business needs to be watertight before getting in a sales director or head of brokerage, head of sales, because they're not always there to completely run the business operationally, especially if it's a larger business. So I think it's important for any sort of CEO or owner of a real estate agency, whatever it may be, company, to actually look at the business, why it's not working, lay new foundations, put new strategies in place, and then find the right candidate for that role. Because, a sales director or even head of sales can't fix all them issues. It's down to you as a business owner to work, on the business, not in the business, closing deals with clients, whatever it may be, to actually look at what the issues are, where it's going wrong, and then hire. I think that's very important. And I used to work with a previous company that was looking for sort of head of sales. The CEO was never involved in the business. He didn't really have much to do with it. The role had been going on for sort of 6 months. And that's because this business was once at sort of 80, 85 headcount. It's now at 15. So either he's got rid of them all or a lot of people have left. And I think that's to do with internal issues within the business that, he's not actually sorted out himself yet.
Yeah, and I think you see that a lot, and especially in real estate, where someone in a specific role has to do multiple different roles, maybe even outside what they're actually sort of experienced and trained to do. And I feel like that's one big thing in real estate is HR and recruitment. A lot of the time it's almost given the exact same sort of like function and role when it's actually two very different responsibilities. Someone that is a specialist in HR doesn't necessarily have the skill sets that someone in recruitment must have. Recruitment is it's almost like another salesman in the business. Especially in Dubai real estate, where HR is more people focused, more admin sort of heavy work. And now if you're now expecting someone to see results and you lump them with HR as well as recruitment, you're setting them up for failure, as well as, we've seen in the market what sometimes you get head of sales and then head of marketing. You can't do that. It's two completely different skill sets. So, I really think that a lot of sort of like agencies, especially your sort of smaller agencies, really need to be more strategic about, the certain sort of placements that they do make.
Yeah, I completely agree. Every business I've worked in Dubai has had split roles. You've got HR and recruitment. And I think that is a very good point that you made there, because recruitment is sales, whether you're internal or external. For me, I've always been headhunting agent. So again, that is more aggressive sales. It's outbound sales. Someone that just has experience in HR wouldn't necessarily be able to do that if they don't have, that sales drive within them. So I think it's very important to split them roles as a company. HR is people, onboarding, documents, etc. Exactly like you said. And recruitment is sales. So I would recommend most clients, that we work with as well, to make sure that you are separating them positions. So when you was an agent, what would you say the most expensive mistake was that you made?
When I was an agent, the most expensive mistake that I made was not managing my CRM system correctly.
Okay.
Okay. Now, for those that don't know, a CRM system is customer relationship management, client relationship management system. It's basically a digital file structure. It's like an extension of your brain. Okay.
Yeah.
Tells you exactly who you need to contact, when you need to contact them, records all previous conversations, and why that's extremely important. And I know a lot of agents overlook the importance of that is it helps you be organized. An organized agent is a successful agent, and an unorganized agent is an unsuccessful agent. Okay. And I say that because there's a quote which basically says that your CRM system is either a gold mine or a trash can.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's because by not keeping your CRM organized, keeping your business organized operationally, you miss out on so many opportunities. And in the real estate market, opportunities go very, very quickly. You know, you're dealing with lots of different agents that are probably speaking with your clients, speaking with your buyers, speaking with your sellers. And if you're not on top of when you're getting in contact with them, you know, not keeping notes on the conversations that you've had with them, you know, you're really putting yourself at a disadvantage and opening up the door for someone else to come in and take that client. So I was really unorganized with my CRM system. So if I could give, you know, any advice, you know, make sure from day one, you look after that CRM system, make sure it's organized, ensure it's a gold mine and not a trash can.
Yeah, it's the exact same for us in recruitment, because if you don't get ahead of the game, the competition is very fierce, and at some point someone will step in. And also, like you mentioned before, for agents, you are running your own business essentially, so no one's going to do the admin work, the organization, the structure for you. You know your schedule and what you need to do better than anyone else. So I think it's imperative to do that. It's very important in this market.
Without a doubt. Now, what do you say sort of with regards to this, right? So do recruiters, internal recruiters and recruitment agencies damage the market by pushing the wrong candidates in just to hit fees?
Yeah, I think some internal recruiters and external recruiters will damage the market and potentially are damaging the market by just trying to hit fees and get a paycheck. Now, the issue with that is, number one, you're not delivering on what you say. Especially external, what we're doing now, you know, companies are paying an external fee to us, so it has to be worthwhile for them. If you're just trying to place, whether it's agents, whether it's admin, whether it's an MD, if you're just trying to place everyone and anyone that doesn't actually fit the bill, then first and foremost, that's not going to end up in a long-lasting relationship. You're probably not going to get repeat clients. And I think because the market is, you know, it's quite a wacky market, there's a lot of companies offering different sorts of packages, etc. These more successful companies, of course, is a lot less successful companies. Then some agencies especially will just try and, you know, fill and kill, put as many people in as you can, and hopefully some will take it. And I think that does damage the market, and also it damages external recruitment agencies' reputations, and that's exactly what we're trying to change here. We're trying to make sure that, you know, we don't overpromise and underdeliver. Ideally, we do the opposite. We're realistic, we're transparent, and we do bring quality candidates into businesses to drive their growth long term, and that makes sure that, you know, they use us. You know, we meet clients personally, we meet candidates personally, and make sure that, you know, when we are sending them people in, we've done our due diligence on our side to not to waste anyone's time. And, you know, it's like real estate again, it's building and maintaining relationships so you get repeat business, and I think that's very important in this market. Okay, so why should a new agent listen to this advice that you give them?
So new agents coming to the market should listen to the advice that I give them, because at one stage I was in their shoes. I was an agent in London for 2 years. I was an agent in Dubai for almost a year. So I've been in the seat that you're sitting in, right? So I understand the pain points that you're facing. I understand the job, right? So when I give you advice, I'm giving advice from someone that's actually been on your shoes and not someone that just sort of thinks that this is how things are. But on top of that, I also ran a brokerage. I managed almost 50 agents. So, I've seen what works. I've seen what doesn't work. So when I suggest things, when I point you in a certain direction, it comes from my experience having been both an agent as well as somebody that's managed a team of agents. So I'm in the best sort of position to give you the best advice on, how you should proceed, what you should do, and the best sort of plan of action for when you arrive into the market.
And how did you find sort of running your own brokerage at such an early stage of your career?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I only had sort of a year of Dubai real estate experience under my belt before I set up my own brokerage. Now, it was tough. I'm not going to lie. And probably as much as it's a competitive industry for agents, it's just as competitive for real estate companies, and when I did join and I did sort of announce that I was setting things up, I kind of did sort of get laughed off and thought, he's never going to be able to do it. Right. But my whole focus has always been on people. Right. Our whole model for what we were building was to become the best place to work for Dubai's top performing brokers. It was to create this broker centric culture. Okay. And I think that stems into why I came across and wanted to set up the recruitment blueprint, because it's my people first approach, having the best interests of people, and wanting the very best for them and for them to succeed over my own sort of like personal, interests. Now, obviously, we're not just here to take part, we're here to take over, right? And to become the number one recruitment partner across the Middle East, right? Now, how do you think that, what does that look like to you?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, we touched on this earlier, we've got the two pillars of the business at the minute. You've got your side, which is new to industry. And again, as we just mentioned, there's no one in the market that's offering a full concierge and supporting relocation, which is one of the biggest questions that people ask coming to Dubai. And secondly, the sales training from someone that's in Dubai real estate and currently a real estate trainer will be training these people as well as yourself. Okay. First and foremost, no one does that straight off the bat. So when going to clients from your side and speaking for yourself, is again, that's the trust is built straight away, because you're not just going through CV libraries and sending a CV. You're actually vetting these people and making sure that they're qualified enough to actually join this industry. From my side, I think what it looks like for TRB in the future and what we're going to do is, my side is 100% sort of what we call contingent placement. So it's not retainer based. A client pays when they're satisfied with an agent within the company. And the long-term growth is to build out Dubai and crack Dubai. I don't think the competition is that great at the moment. I think we can surpass that in good time by delivering a quality service. From my personal experience, as I mentioned in the beginning, I've done internal recruitment, external recruitment. I've worked at large corporates and boutique firms. So I've been exposed to every different area of Dubai real estate. I've worked directly with CEOs. I've got a lot of good connections from candidates and from clients. So purely just based off my relationships and connections, we're already doing very, very well and seeing rapid growth within the business. And we've been speaking about branching out into, the whole of the GCC. We're looking at even Sharjah now with real estate booming up there. Ras Al Khaimah, of course, Saudi, Kuwait. So we're looking to take this across the whole GCC. And like you said, real estate is real estate wherever it is. And we're looking to really crack down and focus on each department, which you have yours and I have mine, and there's no crossover between us, which is great as well. So yeah, I think there's a lot of things that we can do and everyone will see we do in the next sort of 6 to 12 months.
And I think what makes us probably the strongest sort of recruitment team in the market from both internal recruiters and external recruiters is the experience that we have.
Combined.
We were both agents, right? You worked internally for a real estate company doing their recruitment. You worked externally for an external third-party recruitment agency. I was an agent. I ran a real estate company. So our combined experience really gives us a look at the market and a look at recruitment from an angle that no other recruitment team in the market can say that they have.
Yeah, I completely agree. And also, other people in the industry might be looking at us and thinking, oh, they've just set up this business, they don't have enough experience. But from exactly what you said then, no one can compete with that. No one has our combined experience, whether we've just started or not. And a lot of people will see that. So what do you love most about living in Dubai?
What I love most about living in Dubai, for me personally, has to go down to the health and wellness culture. It's probably has one of the strongest health and wellness cultures in the world. And I know you'll be testament to that. You're also big into your fitness and stuff. But I say that because, it'll be 6 a.m. on a Friday. Go down to the beach. It's packed. You got run clubs, cycling clubs, volleyball, paddle. Yeah. I just don't know another place in the world where it's like that. And why I love a city with such a strong health and wellness sort of culture to it is it brings a certain mindset and a certain individual. Someone that on a Friday can wake up and go to join the run club, go play volleyball, go exercise, says a lot about them as an individual, and it really sort of brings all sort of people together that have a certain drive, a certain discipline, a certain motivation, people that want better, that are striving for more. And that's really what sort of creates this incredible energy and vibe sort of around Dubai as a whole.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think if you take the UK, for example, in the mornings, first thing in the morning before work, the gym is generally relatively quiet. After work, 6, 7, 8 p.m., the gyms are always heaving. Whereas it's the reverse in Dubai. Most classes, most gyms are always most busy before work. And that's because people have that mentality to actually get up, start the day correct, release endorphins, and then it keeps them sharp in work. I always preach about that in terms of people that exercise and push themselves physically always benefits them mentally, and that then portrays onto your work, how you are with people, how structured you are, your mindset. It's not just about the physical benefits, it's about the mental benefits that people gain from exercise. And I think Dubai is a hotspot for that, and still is becoming one.
Well, one of my favorite quotes says, a healthy body is a healthy mind, and a healthy mind takes care of business.
Yeah.
And that is why Dubai are the leaders in the world from an entrepreneurial perspective, within sales, within tech, within finance, because it's bringing together all those people that have that mindset to Dubai, to a single place, where everyone's working from and striving for.
Yeah. And I think, for me personally as well, the majority of people here, even if you don't know them, they want you to do well. People are supporting each other left, right, and center. In the UK, you don't get that. It's usually, I'm referring to the UK, so obviously that's where I've lived for most of my life. People are preying on your downfall. They don't want you to do good. People talking behind your back. Dubai is very different, where people lift each other up. Everyone's here for the same thing at the end of the day. Everyone here is to better themselves. It's not always about money and how much money you make. It's just about bettering yourself as a person in every aspect of life.
So that kicks us off our sort of first little conversation. Those are just sort of generally just some of the frequently asked questions that we do get from our clients and from our candidates. Now, stay tuned. We're going to be having many more of these sort of conversations. We've got some exciting sort of plans coming up. We've got a new member of the team joining very, very soon, which I can't wait to introduce. So, if you're someone that's potentially looking at, joining the Dubai real estate industry, please feel free to reach out on our socials. We're on Instagram, we're on LinkedIn. You can reach out to me or Josh personally through our Instagram. Reach out to us, as well as if you are someone that's, currently working in the industry, working in marketing, recruitment, or any sort of salaried role position, please reach out. We're working with some incredible clients, and this really, really, really is an exciting time in the market. It's booming more than it's ever been before. There's so many opportunities, and we would love to be part of that and really sort of help you transition and sort of take your career to the next level. So thanks for listening in, and can't wait to be with you guys soon.